Eat, sleep, bet, repeat. That's how we get down on the opening line at EliteSportsBetting.com. I'll be your host, Benny Ricciardi, and today we're going to talk a little NBA basketball action. Not really a big day of NBA basketball. We only got 6 games here. The biggest slate for NBA this week was actually yesterday, as we talked about on the live stream. Mostly because we're going to have a big slate of college basketball games coming up today, tomorrow, Friday, all through the weekend, with conference tournaments and everything going on. I know these two guys that I have here with me will be on the Lunch Money show that's going to be on later today at 1 o'clock on EliteSportsBetting.com. Probably assuming you guys are going to be talking a lot of college basketball over there. So that's why we kept it to the NBA here. So we'll start with my man Frank up top, fresh off a wedding in sunny Florida. Very likely has the coronavirus right now, but we're all going to get it anyway. So you might as well get it out of the way early, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, kind of hope I get it, and then it'll just pass through me. And I don't leave the house anyway, so don't worry. I'm not putting anybody at risk.
That's one way to look at it there. And then my man Paulie down here at the bottom. Paulie, I actually had to ask you a question here today.
Yeah.
You're in Illinois, right?
Yep.
What's going on with the sports betting over there? I hear like it's coming online soon. Like, do you know anything about that?
Yeah. They just opened up the first legal sports book this past Monday. It was at Rivers Casino, right next to the airport. That's the first one that opened up. They got licenses passed for about 5 other ones that should be up in the next couple months, but really won't have any good mobile for about 2 years because they in the law they passed, it's 18 months after the first mobile operator opens shop until DraftKings and FanDuel can enter the market here. So they're going to wait for a couple months because then they can basically say F you to DraftKings and FanDuel for 2 NFL seasons, because 18 months gets you to about December 2022, which means you missed 2 NFL and college football seasons.
Yeah, but they'll be there online in time for the Super Bowl in 2022 or wherever that is. So
2023, but
yeah, 2023. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the Super Bowl. There's enough gambling that goes on in the Super Bowl that could make it profitable for them to run in there real fast. And you never know. You might get that mobile a little faster if everybody's going to be quarantined. They got to make their money one way or another.
No, they purposely said no to DraftKings and FanDuel to try to let all the other local places get their apps up and running in a decent spot. Yeah. But none of the other apps come anywhere close to those 2 apps. So it's bad for the consumer for 2 years, and they're going to get less tax money because mobile handle is going to be 90% of the handle long term. So they're just losing tax revenue, which is kind of what the state of Illinois needs, considering how bad they are in a financial spot.
Yeah, and I mean, we already see that in New Jersey as well. Like, the FanDuel Sportsbook is cool and people stop over there, and DraftKings has one down in Atlantic City. I think it's Oceans Casino or Resorts Casino, one of those things. But for the most part, everybody's betting on their phone and everyone's betting on their computer, betting from home,
And a lot of Illinois residents are doing that. I mean, I drive 40 minutes to the border to put my bets in Indiana because Indiana has mobile DraftKings and FanDuel and actual brick and mortars right across the border as well. So people are going to continue to do that because the easy accessibility for it, because they know DraftKings and FanDuel and that their apps have a ton of betting options where the other apps are just very, very small. And if you want to look at the NBA game, one app may have 12 different betting options. You go to DraftKings and FanDuel, and you have 1,200 between all the different props and different combinations. It's a no-brainer. At that point, people are either going to stay offshore or make the drive to Indiana instead of if they're in the Chicago area.
Yeah, and another thing that you guys will start noticing as you get all these other books online as well. There's a reason why DraftKings and FanDuel are basically dominating the market in a state like New Jersey where they're able to be. Their user experience is so much better than all these other these other sites look like somebody made them in their HTML class in college when they
that's where they were made at.
Yeah, that pretty much is, to be honest with you. And it's compared to like the functionality and everything on DraftKings and FanDuel, it's not even remotely close at this point. So once those two come online, they're pretty much going to dominate the market, much like they did in New Jersey. And anybody who's used them versus PointsBet and MGM and all these other books, it's pretty easy to see why. But that's just a little something we wanted to kind of get out there for you. I know Paulie, being in that area, would have a little bit of a better understanding of what's going on out there than I would. So we'll give you guys a little bit of that information. Hopefully our friends out there in Illinois will be able to join us soon and put in some of these bets. We got 6 NBA games to talk about here today, so I kind of wanted to get into them. There is a little bit of injury news this morning, as is always the case at this point in the season. So We'll talk about it as we go through the games. First one we're going to talk about here today: New York Knicks, Atlanta Hawks. Hawks are favored by 4 points at home. 230 total is where I saw it open at. It looks like it's creeping up a little bit. Seeing Hawks 4.5 in the total, 231.5, 232 at different places out there in the market. So Frank, we'll start with you up top. New York and Atlanta. Anything you're looking at here?
Yeah, I just missed the boat here a little bit. I had 233.5. I see 232.5 now. So, if you could get it at 232 or 231.5, I would still play the over, but you're definitely going to lose out on some value, which is what I missed out on this morning. So I'm not going to bet it. I like to kind of avoid overs on these back-to-backs as well with the Knicks, and considering they're out of it and Atlanta stinks, I don't want to end up in a game at this point in the year where somebody rests and then the whole thing's nuked anyway. So I was okay missing out on this one.
Fair enough. Paulie, anything for you in that one? New York, Atlanta?
Yeah, I took Atlanta at -4.5. I got the number at what I think it should be about 6.5. So it's a small edge there, enough to play. Atlanta's a team that has actually been playing pretty decent of late, especially now they're somewhat healthy, which is hard to say for any NBA team, right? And you get the Knicks in a back-to-back playing in Atlanta. It's just one of those. There's just a small edge. It's a hard one to handicap because you got two teams that are kind of out of it, right? But Atlanta at least seems to be building towards something, and the Knicks just seem to still be a little bit of mentally cluttered is the polite way to put it, I think.
And I have that game at 5.2, so I'm at least leaning on your side a little bit there.
Yeah, a little bit mentally cluttered is like that. That's like an understatement, to be honest. I mean, listen, if you watch it, I don't watch a ton of Knicks games, but I watched a little bit of it last night. I think they started out down like 14-0 or something like that. The entire starting five got pulled. They went it looked like a fifth grade basketball game. It was just like, all right,
They should probably sign some more power forwards. I think that's probably the correct answer.
I mean, you can never have too many, right? That was the thesis at the beginning of the season because somebody's going to want to trade for them, and that didn't work out anywhere near as. I mean, they did get rid of Morris, so they got rid of one at least. So there you go. All right, let's talk about the next game here. This one's a little bit tough to kind of go through. Detroit at Philadelphia. The reason why I say it's tough to go through is Joel Embiid is listed as questionable here today. So Simmons is still out. Everybody else is playing, but Embiid is somebody who could probably affect this line quite a bit. I'm looking at a bunch of books that don't even have this game open yet. The ones that do, I'm looking at a 215 total with the 76ers favored by 11. So that's basically what I'm looking at here. Paulie, is that what you're seeing too? And any interest in this game?
Yeah, well, where they have the spread right now is kind of right in the middle of where I would expect it for the fact with the Embiid news. So I had the line at either 9 or 12, depending on whether Embiid is in or out. So at 11, there's nothing for me really to touch unless I happen to get breaking news on Embiid and to beat the market for the 1 minute the line stays up there after the news comes out.
All right, so if you happen to be out there the minute the Embiid news breaks and you can still get that plus 11, you take that plus 11 from Paulie. Otherwise, kind of stay away from it. Frank, anything for you here?
Yeah, I actually agree a little bit with Paulie there. Well, a lot of it. I think the number's in the middle somewhere, although I will say I think it's leaning towards him playing because I think, this number's probably going to be like 12 or something, and it's probably going to be, 6 or 7 with him out? I mean, Embiid's one of the more productive players in the NBA. Granted, with him being hurt, who knows what you're going to get out of him. But it seems like that number is shading towards him playing. And the total is as well at 215. So the 76ers are, without Simmons playing, as one of, if not the slowest team in the NBA. It's honestly kind of insane how slow they're playing. Over 16 seconds per possession. But the thing that they've done is they've shut the lights out, which is kind of crazy. I don't expect them to continue to do that. It's not like they've gotten remarkably better or like Simmons was like holding them back from an offensive production side. I mean, sure, he can't shoot, but he creates way more than what they're creating now. So this number is just way too high. I just bet under 217 on DraftKings, which is, it's kind of nuts to me. Detroit's playing at 16.3 seconds per possession, slowest team in the NBA, and Philly's 28th. I don't really understand. I mean, I guess I understand because Philly's playing like some elite offense, but like right now we're seeing Orlando and Charlotte as the two teams ahead of them. Like in these short samples, the offense efficiency can go crazy. And we have good reason to believe that Philly would be playing slower. So I don't really understand what this number is. And I think it's going to come shooting down. Even with Richardson back, they play slower. They play even slower with Richardson. So, I'm not sure.
So you got the number at 217 at DraftKings, you're saying?
Yeah, I just played it now. I'm assuming they're going to get on market here by the time a lot of folks are watching this. I mean, this number should be like 210, maybe. Like, I don't really.
I'm seeing 215 in spots out here as well. So
see
DraftKings has the 217 already.
I see 215 everywhere, and I logged on the DraftKings on my phone just now and saw 217. So like, okay, I'll play that. I saw 214.5 on FanDuel. So, if that's still there when you're watching this, great. If not, I would still just pretty much play this at any number it's going to be today because Philly's not going to shoot, 55% from three for, forever.
Yeah, you're not gonna keep getting 8 threes from Shake Milton in a game like he had the other day. So
it's not going to happen. And I bet I think they played the Warriors a couple of days ago. I bet that as well, and it was the Warriors shot like 55%. Both the team's offensive efficiency was like 1.3 something crazy like that. So you're just not going to get that going forward. There's just no way. No one sustains that. But they are going to sustain this pace, I think. I mean, this is going to be one of the slowest games of the year today.
So the under is looking like the way to go there, especially if you're on DraftKings and you can get that number that they seem to be asleep at the wheel with today. So let's go on to the next game here. We got the Charlotte Hornets going up against the Miami Heat. Now, this is another one that's tough to break down because Miami has a bunch of guys listed as questionable today. You got Kendrick Nunn questionable. You got Tyler Hero, who's moved from doubtful to questionable, so at least he's moving in the right direction. And then you also have Jimmy Butler as questionable too. So those are three guys that are all guys that tend to play minutes when they are available and, help out with the usage and the pace as well. So definitely something we got to keep an eye on here. Even with those three guys being questionable today, Miami is still coming out as about a 10-point favorite from what I'm seeing, with a total around 211 or 212. So anything you're looking at here, Frank?
No, I've got the total at 210 and the line at 11 with everybody in. So I'm thinking that at least Butler's going to play. I would say that, that's probably the main factor here. But with Hero getting upgraded, I think that's kind of factored in a little bit. So, I don't have an edge here either way, but it's looking like those guys are going to play. If you see, 2 of the 3 out, maybe you could come back and grab some Charlotte. But, that doesn't particularly interest me either.
Paul, anything for you?
Yeah, I played Charlotte plus 10 here. It just seems like it's possibly too high of a number with all the injury concerns on Miami. I don't think that number's going to get.
That's everybody playing for me. So, like, if one guy sits, you're going to have value there, right?
Exactly. So I have the number at like 9.5 if everybody plays. So I'm getting already about a point of value if everyone plays, and if anyone sits there, like if Butler sits, that number for me is going to drop down to about 6.5.
Yeah. Well.
So at that point, I'm getting 3.5 points of value. So I'll play it now because I think it's probably at its market peak. Because even if they rule everybody in, I don't think it's going to tick up more than maybe half a point.
So, I mean, you're basically looking at it as worst case scenario. You're already getting, pretty much the number that you wanted anyway, and it's kind of
exactly.
If any of those guys are out, you're going to have something in your favor. So that's another way to kind of look at these injury news things. Sometimes you don't have to avoid a game completely if you know that the number is, likely to move in one direction or another if anything moves in your way. So definitely a good way to kind of look at it there. So let's look at the next game here. We got Utah and Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City favored by 217.5 total. It does look like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who missed the last game, is going to be available for this game here for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Paulie, we'll start with you on this one. Utah, OKC, anything?
No, I'm right on market on this game, man.
All right, Frank, anything for you on this one?
Yeah, right on market for me too. Nothing within or outside of a point here for me. 1.5, 216.5. So number looks good here.
All right, so that one we'll skip over. Next one, Denver and Dallas. Dallas is a 1.5 point favorite here. No, wait, that's switched. I'm sorry. Denver is a 1 point favorite here. 218.5 is the total that I'm seeing. So, Frank, we'll start with you on this one. Anything on Denver, Dallas?
Yeah, I lean over a little bit. I lean toward Dallas a little bit, but they're on the back-to-back, and I've gotten burned probably 3 times this year playing them, and then Porzingis sits or Lucas sits or both of them sit. So I'm not really going to play here. I'm also a little bit concerned that they're not really going to play many minutes. Now, the edges are small. You're talking about like I got Dallas by half point here. So, when you consider the game can't land 0, that's pretty tight. So like I said, small edges here, but I don't want to gamble on Dallas on back-to-backs because they've just been screwing me, all season. So I'm going to stay away from this one just in general.
So you have Dallas favored by a half a point in this one, and Denver
yeah, like right around
favorite?
pick 'em. I mean, if this game was on a back-to-back, granted you wouldn't get this number, but if I had a 1-point edge on a side, I would probably play Dallas here at home. But with the back-to-back, I just got burned with them, multiple times, and I'm just not going to risk it this time.
Yeah, what do you think, Paulie? I mean, maybe that's kind of factored into the number a little bit, the chance that Luka or Porzingis could sit or just play less minutes too, right?
I actually played at open. I played Denver getting 1.5 last night when the number popped open. Just for the very reason is I kind of had the game as similar to where Frank's sitting at. So when I'm getting Denver plus 1.5, I think that's at the peak of the market, and it's already moved a little bit towards Dallas that way. To where if any of those guys do sit, I'm going to have a 4-point edge in the game probably. If Porzingis or Luka sit, if they both sit, I got about a 6-point edge probably.
Okay.
Maybe
so I'm taking that and just running with it. I mean, we've seen the Mavs do this before. They don't really have any motivation to play these guys a ton of minutes on back-to-backs, or even really play them at all at this point in the year. You're not in danger of losing your playoffs. Sure, it's a kind of packed standings, but you just want these guys healthy for the playoffs. There's nothing really to play for.
Yeah, and if I had this, make a guess here, I'd say Luka would be the guy that they may sit because he went into yesterday's game questionable too with a wrist injury, which is something that he hasn't been on the injury report with before. So it was kind of a new injury that popped up, and he played through it. So maybe this is the day they say, you know what, buddy, just take a little bit of a rest here, and we'll go from there. So I don't think that's a bad option either. Again, the line has already moved a little bit away from you. Like Paulie said, he was able to get Denver getting 1.5, and now they're giving 1. So, you've already seen a little bit of a move there, although not as big when you cross the 0. So that brings us to the last game here. We got the New Orleans Pelicans and Sacramento Kings. Pelicans favored by 1.5 on the road here. Pretty big total in this game, 235. I think that's the biggest total on the slate. The only other one that's close is the New York and Atlanta game here. We'll start with you down there, Paulie. Anything you're looking at in New Orleans, Sacramento?
Nothing for me in this game, Benny.
All right, Frank, anything for you?
Just small under here for me. I got the line bang on 1.5 here, so I've got it at 234. So I would still play the under 235 worst case. It's the reason for that. Both teams have maintained their pace. For throughout the season, they're playing about the same as they always have. But Sacramento has been scoring a lot of points. They're 6th in the NBA over their last week or so in efficiency, and I just don't think that's going to continue. So I think we're seeing a little bit of a bump because of that, similar to the Sixers game, but on less a severe case, obviously, because both these teams are still really fast. So you kind of hold your nose here, and I still like the under a little bit.
All right, so under what number would you play it to? I'm looking at 235 right now. Is that what you're saying?
That's the worst number I would play. So it hasn't really come off that. It opened at 235. The pinnacle it's gone up and down some big change, but about pretty much the same within 3 cents. So yeah, it hasn't changed much. I think it opened in some spots at 236.5, but that was like overnight, small market stuff. So it has come down a little bit, and maybe this is about where it'll settle, but small edge if you want to play it at this point in the year.
All right, so 235 is the bottom number we're looking at here, and that kind of ends it, guys. Like I said, we only had 6 NBA games tonight. There are a lot of NCAA games, so if you guys have a VIP package over at EliteSportsBetting.com, I'm sure these guys have a whole bunch of NCAA plays that are going up today with all the conference tournaments going on. And if not today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, because there's a lot more conference tournaments that are starting later on this week as well. These guys are doing the Lunch Money Show. We moved the Lunch Money Show from yesterday to today. This way they can talk a little bit about some of these NCAA games that are going to be going up. So make sure you tune in to EliteSportsBetting.com at 1 o'clock. You got these two beautiful faces sitting next to me here, along with Rob and Tommy G, going over a lot of that stuff. Probably talk a little bit of the PGA stuff. I saw you guys put up the up and down last week. What is it, Players Championship this week?
Yep, correct, Benny.
All right, so give me one big bet. If anybody out there is listening and hasn't listened to the whole up and down, give me your favorite bet for PGA for this week.
Go ahead, Frank.
Hold on, let me open up my site. I guess Cantley is who I would play. I got him at 27-1. I would play him down to like 25-1. Now he's not completely everywhere at that price. I've seen him 20-1. I've seen 25-1, 27-1. But he's probably my favorite bet this week, Patrick Cantley.
All right, and as we always say, make sure you guys shop around, because if you have 2 or 3 books that you can use, especially if you're in some of these regulated states where you have access to them all, you'd be shocked at how much different the payouts are in one place to another. So, Paulie, this is your sport, man. Golf man, Paulie, what do you got for me?
Yeah, the biggest edge, like the outright to win market, is actually Brooks Koepka, who you can get between like 40 to 45 to 1 in most shops. The number is just too high. It should be closer to about 25 to 1. So it's the pure numbers play there. The numbers, we're getting way too much value on it.
Yeah, so like I said, make sure you guys watch that up and down video that's on the same YouTube channel right here.
We go way more in depth on everything there too, so you can kind of get the full grasp of everything.
Yeah, and one thing that I've been having some success with is when you guys do the the pairings in tournament in the first and second round, they've been money on those and making me a lot of money on them as well. So definitely make sure you check that out. Definitely check out everything else that we got here to offer at EliteSportsBetting.com. So for Paulie, for Frank, this is Benny signing off for another episode of The Opening Line.